Welcome to another episode of the Rankin Podcast, where today we are live on Facebook for the first time. Hopefully you have liked and listened to our podcast before, but this is what it looks like when we post our podcast on YouTube. But today we're going live on Facebook, and we are glad that you have joined us. As always, joined by my co-host, Don Garwood.
For the first time in forever.
It truly is the first time in forever. And also joining us is my younger brother, Zach Seawright.
How we doing?
I'm Garrett Seawright. You can find me on Twitter at Garrett Seawright. Don is...
At Donnie_G.
And Zach is...
At Zach Seawright. Zach with an H. The H is for hate.
Yes.
That's what that H stands for.
If you've got hate for us on the podcast, you tweet it at Zach Seawright.
That's right.
If you like what we're doing, you can tweet us at Rankin Podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever. You can leave us a 5-star review wherever it is you listen to your podcasts as well. We would certainly appreciate that. So this is the first time here on Facebook, and if you got a comment or anything like that, let us know. Before we get started, today's episode is brought to you by Blended Collective Company. They've got great candles. Their fall line starting on September 1st. So hop on over to their Facebook page to learn some more. Before we get super deep in here, we are going to rank our best and worst.
We are. Top 3 of each.
Top 3 of each best and worst movie sequels. And we decided that series...
Sequels is a pretty broad term.
Yes.
Right. So it could be the 5th movie in the series. It could be the 2nd. It could be the 10th. And it doesn't matter if it's a continuation of an existing story. It can be any movie that is a sequel.
So
not number 1.
Correct. Not the launching point, but anything after that.
Ooh, probably technically not a prequel. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I don't know what a sequel makes you think prequel is okay.
Well,
if you have the Phantom Menace on your list, we're going to have problems, Zach.
I do not have the Phantom Menace on my list.
Does it depend on if it's on the best or worst side? Like if it's worst, we will allow it, but if it's the best, we're going to backhand you.
We'll, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we burn it down.
Okay.
Sounds good to me. So Zach is our very esteemed guest. This is a high quality show here with Zach Shearer.
Yep.
Your very esteemed guest. But Zach, you get to go first.
So my number 3, are we doing best or worst first?
Hell, you decide. I don't.
Okay.
It's your day.
Okay. Well then.
Is today your day?
So I'm going to go with bad because that's the order I have them in.
That's how I live my life.
Right. Is worst comes first. So number 3, worst sequel of all time is Star Wars Episode 2, The Clone Wars, which is technically a prequel, but it's also a sequel. Or, sorry, Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones is Episode 2.
You have that as number 3 of your worst sequels of all time.
Yes.
Why?
That movie is trash. That movie is long. It is boring. It's poorly written. It's poorly acted. I hate sand. It gets everywhere. It's coarse. I'm emo. Shut up, Anakin. Like, you're living in paradise with Natalie Portman, which is like top 10 ways I would like to live the rest of my life. Probably top 1. And just, no, I hate sand. I'm going to kill all the sand people because they killed my mommy. Shut up. It's poorly written. Like, me and Alex were talking about this, and he was like, oh, but Attack of the Clones has the fight with Yoda and Count Dooku. And I was like, if your big battle is between a CGI puppet and a 75-year-old dude, it's not that great of a fight.
Okay. You're getting carried away.
No, I'm right, damn it. Not only is it the worst sequel, it's the worst Star Wars movie.
Hello there. General Kenobi.
Right, like that, great. Everything else,
the memes
trash.
from that movie are really good.
Trash.
First of all, that's not the worst Star Wars movie.
What's the worst Star Wars
Phantom
movie?
Menace is the worst Star Wars movie.
No.
There's a reason that when you rewatch the Star Wars movies, you skip Phantom Menace. And the accepted way to watch them, other than the very first time you watch them in order of release, the appropriate way to watch them is the Hatchet. It's called the Hatchet series or whatever. And you watch the first 2 Star Wars movies. Like you watch New Hope and then you watch Jedi.
Revenge of the Jedi.
Revenge of
the Jedi.
And then you go back and then you watch Clone Wars and then you watch Revenge of the Sith, because then that completes Darth Vader's arc, and he turns from the villain, and then you kind of show how he's shaped into the villain, and then you go back and then you finish the series in the way that it was completed. But there's a reason that you skip the Phantom Menace, and that reason is that everything that happens in the Phantom Menace takes place in the credits of the second movie.
It does.
You literally miss out on nothing.
It's true.
Everything is covered in the credit roll.
I would rather listen
for Attack of the
to a
Clones.
young, whatever the hell that kid's name is.
In the credits,
Jake Young, whatever his name is, the kid who plays Anakin in the Phantom Menace. I would rather listen to him say, "Now this is pod racing" on an infinite loop for the rest of my life than watch Attack of the Clones.
Now this is pod racing.
I was going to say, is in the credits of A New Hope or whatever, the Attack of the Clones, do they say, plus there was a badass pod race? In the credits?
They don't talk about pod racing for the rest of the series.
True story.
So it's like Quidditch and Harry Potter, like they play it in one movie and then they don't for
Right.
4 movies. And
Right.
like, oh, by the way,
oh yeah, we got
Quidditch,
this
big deal.
fun game.
So that's Zach's worst number 3. Do you have a best number 3?
I do. Are we doing them back to back or okay?
No, I asked because I don't care. I want to skip to Don's worst. Yes, Zach, I would like to know your number 3 best.
Okay,
sequel.
so my number 3 best sequel is T2, Terminator 2.
I thought you were going to have that higher. I knew it was going to be on your list. I thought it was going to be higher for you.
It was a struggle to have that at 3, because I am very adamant that T2 is the best Terminator movie. Because you get that dramatic shift of Arnold Schwarzenegger being the bad guy in the first one to him being the good guy in the second one. It tells a great story. Eddie Furlong is fantastic, and he's the worst part of that movie. But I mean, you learn more about, like, it really builds off of the first one really good, because the first one, it's kind of, hey, this war's coming. Okay. And then the second one is, hey, the war is coming. You need to get John ready for it.
So here's the thing. I think you and I have had an argument on this podcast before about T2. I don't know if it was movie franchises or if it was action heroes. But let me just say that T2 is also my number 3 on my on the best sequels list.
Yay.
But I mean, for the reasons that you said, and the fact that the entire time Sarah Connor is trying to prevent Google from taking over the world and creating the robots.
Google really is Skynet at this point.
It's between Google and Amazon just competing to become Skynet.
Fact.
But in her trying to do that, she ends up creating the apocalypse because she brings back his arm from the first movie that didn't melt and gives that to the dude at Skynet, and is like, hey, don't let this go somewhere. Or they recovered it from that factory or whatever. Yeah. And then, did she kill him in front of her son, or just shot him in the leg in front of his son?
Shot him in the leg. Because they help him break into Cyberdyne.
Right. But, I mean, it's just that no matter what they can...
Did you see Garrett's face?
No, I've never seen him, so I don't...
So, no matter what they do, kind of like the...
You might as well be
the apocalypse is coming.
Right.
So, it's a super interesting story, and I don't like the kid in it.
I said, Eddie Furlong's amazing, and he's the worst part of the movie. Like, he is just trash.
She's in a... the scene where she's in the mental institute... And she's breaking out and runs down the hall and sees the Terminator walking towards her with that shotgun.
Her PTSD kicks in something.
And she just slams on the brakes and starts sprinting the other way. That's an amazing scene.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, you know what we're talking about.
Totally. We've all been there. So that's Zach's best and worst. I'm sorry. I'm not like mocking you. I just have no idea what you guys are talking about. So I'm trying to still be a part of the conversation, but like, I got nothing.
Hey, we appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's Zach's best and worst 3 movie sequels. Got a couple of folks on Facebook chiming in. Got a worst sequels: Superman's 3 and 4, Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo. Hold on. Electric Boogaloo is just fun to say. Therefore, it's a great sequel.
Rocky 5.
Rocky V, and every American Pie film after the original.
I feel like, does American Wedding count? Because American Wedding was fun.
I liked American Wedding. But
Best sequel, Godfather Part 2. I mean, I think that's just generally accepted as
Right.
the best, but to be honest, and it's something I'm slightly ashamed of, but at this point I'm just doing it on purpose. I've never seen Godfather or Godfather Part 2.
yeah,
Same.
I haven't either.
Like I know some of the quotes.
Right.
Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Like
Is it the gun?
I don't know.
Take the cannoli is all I know.
I don't know. I just we're probably gonna get a lot of hate for that because we've talked a lot about movies.
And
on
we
this
haven't
podcast.
seen
We haven't
Godfather
seen,
Part
like,
1,
yeah,
the
right,
two
something-
highest rated movies on IMDb.
right. We haven't seen them. So
Ain't seen Citizen Kane either.
well, but that's not the Godfather. All right, Don. What is your best and worst movie sequels?
So my number 3 best was T2. So we already got some coverage on that one. My number 3 worst movie sequel is Home Alone 3.
That's a bad one.
And that is, so it's not Macaulay Culkin, so it's not even
Right,
the
it's
same kid.
Right.
It's
that little
Alex D. Linz is just
and
some little
he's
bowl
a star.
cut.
Right, he's a star.
And the whole point of the movie is he stops like an international terrorist cell
Yeah.
because they bring in like an RC car that has a
Watched
micro.
it, like when it first came out. We got it like on the VHS from the library.
I've watched it within like the last 2 years.
on purpose.
Yes, just to check it out.
Remember how awful it is?
Yeah.
Doesn't that movie have a young Scarlett Johansson in it?
Yes, it's
I
his
think-
sister.
I'm pretty sure
It's
ScarJo.
his sister is Scarlett Johansson.
ScarJo is young in perpetuity. That's forever.
I mean,
Zach,
that's
a big word. I know it's a big word.
I know
that
what
means for
I
forever.
watch Shark Tank. I know what perpetuity means.
But the fact that that's how you know perpetuity. Okay.
She looked like she was,
But she was like
aged up a
12.
little bit for Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I've got Home Alone 3 on here. They swap an RC car, and now he has an RC car with essentially a microchip that will end the world on it, or whatever it does. Has money on it.
You
Nuke
didn't
codes.
face that as a kid? You didn't
Right.
have the nuclear football in your house?
And so he beats like these 3 highly trained assassins and like
Pots and pans.
Right.
right. And so it's just super unbelievable. I mean, the first 2 were very unbelievable, but
Right.
this one is.
But at least it's Macaulay Culkin and they're entertaining and
right.
but it's
and
he's
just
stopping
2 random robbers.
Right. He is not
Who are
stopping an
clearly
international
incompetent.
terrorist organization. He's stopping the sticky bandits.
And then the wet bandits.
Right. The wet bandits.
yeah, that's
So I mean that I just can't get over it.
like they tried to tap into like the Spy Kids before
Right.
before Spy Kids was a thing.
Exactly.
So that's your number 3 worst, and your number 3 best was T2.
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 With old Sarah Connor and Arnold Schwarzenegger. My number 3 worst is Dumb and Dumberer.
I can get behind that.
It's so bad.
That's when they're. Is that when they're kids?
Yeah, when they're teenagers.
Okay. Yeah.
Not the
in high school. Not the.
So that's a prequel.
Ooh.
Well, we said
Well, so were yours. So I guess we're allowed.
Yeah.
But mine's a sequel of the prequels.
mine is
Wow.
a sequel.
His is a sequel
mine
to the prequel.
Mine is a prequel sequel.
No, yours is just a prequel.
Yours
It comes out after. It came out after Dumb and Dumber.
right, which is why it's called a prequel.
Right, but it's a sequel to the prequel. Like the subject matter, it makes it a prequel. It's still
right.
trash. We also discussed.
I mean,
that
it's
if it
fine.
was on your
I'll-
worst.
I'll-
If it was on
I'll
your worst
allow it.
list,
Right. Okay. Fine.
but it's terrible. It's
It
one of the
is.
worst movies I've ever seen.
It's bad. Like it's garbage. But I think I've seen worse movies.
I didn't say it was the worst movie I ever saw. I said it's one of the worst movies I ever
Okay.
saw. And then my best sequel is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince at number 3. It is the best movie in that franchise. When I first saw it in theaters, I absolutely hated it. I thought it was the worst movie of that series.
Is that the one we went to the midnight premiere in Fort Wayne to?
Yes.
Didn't get home till 5 a.m.
And I was so mad because I had just read the book, like finished the book that week, like for the second time, and I was so hyped up because it's a great book. It's probably the best book of the series. And then
I guess I would call it. You got Half-Blood Prince, right?
yes.
Okay. It's probably the best movie, and then it has the most information and like the best arc, but it's not the most fun movie to watch in the series. Deathly Hallows Part 2 is the most fun movie to watch in that
Well,
series.
that's not really fair. Like that's always going to be
because it's just nonstop action almost that entire movie.
pretty much. But Half-Blood Prince.
So it's my favorite.
It's the best movie. Sort of like we've talked about this like 9 times. That Uncut Gems is a great movie, but it's not fun to watch.
Right.
Similar to this, that it's not the funnest, most entertaining movie of the 7
Right.
or of the 8, but it's the best movie of the 8, and so it is my favorite book of the 7.
There's about to be a spoiler alert if you haven't watched Harry Potter, but really I don't care. Who's the bad guy in, like, who's the main thing that they overcome in Half-Blood Prince? Is it the book?
I was going to say, it's the
It's
old
Snape's?
potions book. It's Snape's old potions book.
Who do they get in a fight with at the end?
Snape and the Death Eaters.
Okay, that's right. Because
that's when Snape
kills
revealed,
Dumbledore.
of all the spoiler alerts.
Right,
you can just
right. I mean, I
drop
don't
on
care.
on a live podcast here.
Well, I told him spoiler alert.
So
Did you ever see the video of the dude who goes to like the book release at midnight and drives around in the parking lot just shouting Snape kills Dumbledore at the people waiting in line to get the book?
That's phenomenal. It's phenomenal and horrible at the same time. Like, Snape kills Dumbledore. That's rough. Like there's is it The Simpsons or Family Guy that they're like, this is worse than the time I ruined the Star Wars for everyone. He's like, wow, who'd have guessed that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father?
That's
and,
Simpsons.
All these people are standing in line to get into the movie theater. Like,
What the hell?
like, who would have guessed that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father? Oh, hey, come on, hey.
There was
So Snape kills Dumbledore. That's
I think when I went to The Force Awakens, as we were walking in, somebody was walking out talking about the movie, and I was just shouting at him, I was like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. And then when I was walking out of the movie, I almost ruined it for people walking in as I was talking to the person
talking
beside
about
me.
the same exact thing that person was coming out of the theater
Right.
talking about.
So the bank that my friend Alex works at is right next to a car wash. And when the Avengers of Infinity War came out, at the end of that movie, Alex was walking to his car after work, and 2 of the kids who dry off your car at the end were talking about it. And he's just like, I can't believe this person. And Alex just goes, shut the F up, and just shouted it across the parking lot.
Yeah, we could probably go on similar stories of like, there's a girl who used to live next door that went to go see the Hunger Games, and I was like, hey, PETA and Katniss both win. Like she's like going on a date or something. I'm like, hey, PETA and Katniss, they grab the thing together and they both win. It's like, thanks, appreciate that. Like, well,
That's not how they win.
I don't remember.
They're going to eat the berries. And then the
right,
gamekeeper
yeah.
goes, no,
Wait, no.
you both win.
Plutarch is like, wait, no. And then
With his fancy beard.
And then he got too much heroin and died. All right. So those are our number 3s. Don, what is your number 2 best and worst?
So my number 2 worst is going to be Weekend at Bernie's 2.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You pretty much wrapped it up in the first one there. Like, what? You didn't need a second one. And they made a second one.
The Weekend at Bernie's was really funny. It's not a good movie, but it's a very fun movie to watch. Like, I mean, I watched it all through my childhood, didn't understand a lot of the jokes in it. I've watched it in the last probably 4 or 5 years.
And I'm like,
and
why was I allowed to watch this?
Deb in the comments, why was I allowed to watch Weekend at Bernie's as a 10-year-old? But so the second one, he gets shot in the head with an... Oh, so in the second one, they tried to bring him back to life, and it was like voodoo people who tried to get him back to life. And they messed up, and instead of sacrificing a chicken, I think they pulled the old Major League too, and used like a fried chicken or a pigeon or something like that.
Major League. We need a live chicken. We got a bucket of chicken.
So they used like a pigeon instead of a chicken, and so then they also had like music playing in the background while they did the thing. So he would get up and walk, but only when music was playing. And so
this sounds terrible.
Like, it was really funny, but it's a terrible movie. And there's a scene where they have like they put headphones on him so that people would think he's alive, and he's walking around. And there's one scene where he like is carrying a treasure chest underwater in the bottom of the ocean, just walking because he can hear the music through the headphones. But yeah, it's an awful movie. They really could have stopped at the first one.
Yeah, I don't know. Were people clamoring for a second? I don't know that anybody walked out of Weekend at Bernie's and was like, you know what?
I can go for a second one.
Hope they do that again.
I'm really interested in knowing how that one lady had sex with him after he was dead. She went up into the room with him and came back very satisfied. So that is my
worst.
number 2 worst. Number 2 best is the movie Aliens. So in this one, Ellen Ripley is saved from like whatever company it is that saves her after she's been in like asleep for like 50 some years. And then it turns out that what was it? I think they're trying to like breed the aliens in this one. And so they're trying to like smuggle the aliens around in her stomach or something like that. But it's a really good watch. I mean, it's just as good as the first Alien movie. And I think this one has the little girl in it as well. Because they find her, and then she wakes up out of hypersleep, and like the crew of whatever ship she was on is completely killed by the xenomorphs. And then she finds the little girl on the ship. I think this one also has the robot one in it, but she gets to fight it. She gets to fight it in the mech suit at the end of the movie, and then just every Alien movie she kills it the same way by just sucking it out the hatch on the spaceship.
Giggity. Giggity.
Bill Paxton's in this movie too.
Bill Paxton's
R.I.P. Bill Paxton.
He's in the best movies. He's in the best movies.
So yeah, I got
Zach's like, okay, all right, I'll let that slide.
I got Aliens as my
best.
So I'm getting corrected. Deb Schmidt says that I'm confusing Alien 2 with Alien 3 on some of that stuff.
It's tough to keep those.
But Aliens is still a really good sequel.
So your mom's giving you the business via Facebook, huh?
Yeah, she's
somebody's keeping us straight.
That's
right.
fair.
And Keywan is asking, they made another Weekend at Bernie's?
Oh,
I mean, that's...
Keywan, you're missing out. Gary Raspberry said Don and Zach think perpetuity is something requiring a shot in ointment.
The treat.
So, yeah, you're probably right there, Raz.
Yeah, I was going to say, Raz seems to have his finger on the pulse.
I don't know if I would know what perpetuity meant had I not watched some Shark Week.
Shark Tank?
Shark Tank.
Well, also Shark Tank.
Shark Week is on Discovery Channel.
Yeah, but Shark Week is in...
Can Mike Tyson punch out a shark? We'll find out tonight at 9. Like Shark Tank is a whole different thing. If I never watched Shark Week. Zach, did we do yours?
No.
All right, start yapping.
All right. My number 2 worst movie sequel is Spider-Man 3. The plot of that movie is convoluted. There are too many villains running around.
I don't even...
So Spider-Man 3 is when he turns into like an emo.
Yeah. I actually have that in all caps on my notes. Emo Peter.
Were you about to giggity yourself on emo Peter? Jesus.
Yes, I was. So you got emo Spider-Man. There's too many villains. It's convoluted as hell. The Sandman, it turns out 2 movies later that the Sandman killed Uncle Ben, not the guy who they thought. So it completely undoes everything from the first one. And then Spider-Man 3 came out in a weird time in my life. my parents were going through a divorce when that movie came out, and my dad took me to see it. And in that movie, for like a hot minute, Mary Jane leaves Spider-Man, and so like that's fresh in my dad's mind. So he's sitting there crying in the movie theater, and it just makes you not enjoy.
Oh, you know what?
It makes you not enjoy a terrible movie.
We saw that movie like a week and a half after I got a concussion in football that I was paralyzed for a couple of hours. So I had like this horrible splitting headache the whole time. Dad's crying and Zach's like, this sucks. I'm just like laying on the floor in the fetal position like, oh, my brain hurts. Dad's crying because his feelings hurt. And Zach's like, this movie's stupid.
Yeah, so
good memories.
So every time I think of terrible movies, I'm just like, Spider-Man 3.
So, yeah,
terrible.
Spider-Man 3 was poorly executed, but...
Right, like it had so much potential because you have the Sandman, you have Venom, you have...
the New Goblin.
Yeah, right, you have the New Goblin, like... It was so much like to be had, but like
Well, they never called Venom either.
Right.
He was always a symbiote.
Right. And on top of that,
right.
Topher Grace is not Eddie Brock. Like
Right. The new Venom movie
with Tom Hardy
with
is
Tom Hardy
fantastic.
as Eddie Brock is really good.
Right. Because Eddie Brock was supposed to be this, like big, strong dude, and then they're like
you got Eric from that.
Right, then you've got
show.
Eric from that 70s show.
So have you ever seen it's like Alien versus Predator 2, where Topher Grace is.
I don't think so.
So Topher Grace, it's essentially the Predators are like kidnapping people, and they're kidnapping like the most dangerous people from this prison so that they can hunt them. They're like, okay, let's hunt some Earthlings now, and so they are hunting like a serial killer and like a military dude and all this stuff. And then you're like, the entire movie, you're like, why is Topher Grace here? Like, he's just like this super nerd that hasn't really done anything until the very end of the movie when like the main character like breaks her ankle and they leave her with Topher Grace. And Topher Grace is like, you want to know? It is called Predators. Thanks, Kiwan. And Topher Grace is like, you want to know why I'm here? Because I was in prison for raping. And he's like, I just love raping people. What time is it? 5 o'clock? Guess it's time to rape some bitches. And that's his main line in the movie. And then he gets eaten by an alien, I believe.
Sounds like he earned it.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
But I mean, that's just like, if it was anybody but Topher Grace, you could probably believe it.
Right, but since it's
Eric. It's Eric from that 70s show.
Right. You're waiting
And
for
that's got to
Donna
be terrible for him to try and get a job in Hollywood to be an actor.
Right, because you're always going
It's just like, I wish I could think of his name, but it's just JD from Scrubs. He's always JD from
Zach
Scrubs.
Braff.
Zach Braff.
Right.
If he doesn't create and direct the movie, he's not getting a role in it because he's just always JD from Scrubs.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's so. Zach, that is your worst.
Number 2
What
best.
is your 2 best?
My number 2 best is The Dark Knight. And The Dark Knight builds off of Batman Begins, which is a wonderfully dark reimagining of Batman. Batman has always meant to be kind of a darker, grittier character that, he's morally ambiguous. Like, sure, he doesn't kill people, but like he'll
rough you up.
Right, well, I don't have to save you. Like, okay. Like, so you're still killing people there, Batman. No, I just didn't save him. Yeah, because he was going to die, and you didn't prevent that. You killed him because of your actions. But The Dark Knight, it has, as I say, Christian Bale's portrayal of Batman is phenomenal. But then on top of that, to challenge Batman, you have arguably the best portrayal of the Joker in live cinema. That Jared Leto's Joker sucked.
I don't think Jared Leto's Joker sucked.
Right.
I think the movie that he played
yes,
character in sucked.
Yes, I misspoke. You were correct.
So they're doing a Snyder cut for Justice League, which is I think is going to be amazing.
No, I do too.
But I would like to see the initial cut of the Suicide Squad before. So they did
before they hacked it to hell.
They hacked it to pieces because Deadpool came out and they're like, oh, people want funny and all this stuff. So they like completely redid the movie so that they could try and get more laughs out of it. And they didn't get
Right.
any more laughs
They
or a
failed
decent
miserably.
movie.
Right.
Apparently, the first rendition of that movie was going to have a lot more Jared Leto in
Say,
it.
Right.
isn't he only on screen for like 7 minutes or
Right.
something
Yeah,
stupid like that?
Like they said, there was enough deleted scenes with Jared Leto that they could make another movie out of it.
And
Like
that's
a
the one I want to
feature-length
watch.
movie. But okay, so yeah, I misspoke. The Suicide Squad sucked. Jared Leto's portrayal was not bad. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker was really good in the Joker movie, but I mean, he doesn't really go all Joker, you know, like which I understand it's an origin story and all that good stuff,
I
but
thought you were going to say orgy.
no. But like, yeah, Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker is going to be the litmus test for the Joker or for Joker portrayals for a while, and that has to say something.
So that's Zach's number 2. Before I give my number 2, here's Don with a mention from our sponsor.
So, like we said earlier, this special live episode of the Rankum Podcast is sponsored by Blended Collective Company. They make hand-poured natural soy candles and wax melts to add to your home decor. Each batch is handmade, and their new fall line is set to release on September 1st. Make sure you head on over to their Facebook page and give them a like because their summer line initially sold out in just 4 hours.
To find them on Facebook, Blended Collective Co., sponsor of the Rankum Podcast today. We appreciate them. My number 2 worst is Son of the Mask. First of all, Jamie Kennedy's not funny.
Yeah.
Okay? Not in nothing.
Yeah, Malibu's Most Wanted's not terrible.
Nope, not funny. He's terrible. I hope he texts and drives.
Son of the Mask was awful.
Son of the Mask is horrible.
I've never seen it because it just looks
It's
like garbage.
so horrendous. So horrendous. Just awful. Like The Mask itself,
solid.
not a great movie. It's okay.
I watched
The
other
Mask
day.
is a fun
Wasn't
movie to
bad.
watch. When you're 8 years old and The Mask came out, somebody stop me.
Somebody stop me.
Smoking.
But did you end that movie going, God, I hope they make a sequel?
Yeah, with Jim Carrey.
Even with Jim Carrey, I'm like, no, I'm good.
I could use more of The Mask.
I could use more of that dog. It's a good dog in that movie. Good dog.
He's a good dog.
But, I've never once in my life have I, first of all, ever thought, I hope Jamie Kennedy's in this movie. And then secondly, thought, I wish that they would make a remake of The Mask.
I think,
Or
first
not
of
a
all,
remake, a sequel to The Mask.
I like Jamie Kennedy in the Tremors movies.
Ugh.
He's in Tremors 5, Bloodlines.
Tremors gets to be like
He's in Tremors 7, or Tremors.
now
A
that's what I
Cold
call
Day in
music.
Hell.
69 Tremors 74. This time with a vengeance. I'm like, stop it. Just stop it.
Just stop.
So I got Son of the Mask at worst. 2 best. Toy Story 3. Not Toy Story 2. Not Toy Story 4.
Definitely not Toy Story 4.
Toy Story
Right.
4.
Also not Toy Story 2. Toy Story 2 isn't that fun to watch.
It's just okay. Toy Story 3 is a great story. And then, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert,
Spoiler alert.
At the end, when Andy gives all of his toys to Bonnie, I might cry thinking about it right now. Like, Jesus Christ. What are you trying to do to me, Pixar? Like, are you doing that on purpose? Because I wish you weren't. My God. Damn it. That stuff came
Bobby.
out in 1995, and now you're trying to kill the story on me and make me all cry in the movie theater. My girlfriend, who's now my wife, is like, are you going to be okay? I'm like, no, no.
But it's
like-
when he gives the toys to Bonnie that makes you cry, not when they're spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, when they're in the incinerator and they're just like,
No.
well, I guess we're done, and they all hold hands because they accept their fate
No.
collectively
When he
that
gives
we are
them-
about to die.
When he gives them to Bonnie, and then, like, you know how...
when he goes to give her Woody and then he pulls, or when she grabs for Woody and he yanks it back real quick like a jackass.
You know how girls cry at the end of The Notebook when...
You mean how
spoiler
you
alert-
cried?
Everybody cries at the end of the Notebook.
No. How Noah and Allie both die at the same time? That is me at the end of Toy Story 3. Whoa.
You cried at the end of the Notebook.
I did not. I cried at the end of the last song. Thank you very
I've
much.
I've never watched the last song
I guess
with
the
you.
end of the Notebook I didn't cry at.
I didn't cry at the end of the Notebook.
Yes, you did.
I probably cried in the middle of the Notebook
I think it's
somewhere.
like, I think
Erica,
it's
you're
just-
watching this. Please comment.
I think it's
on
stupid.
that Garrett cried at the end of the Notebook.
I
'cause you were there.
realize that. What's his name? Who's the dude who writes those stupid
Nicholas
books?
Sparks.
Nicholas Sparks is just trying to get 35-year-old ladies to cry, but that wasn't my bag.
So we do have a couple of comments here. We got one from Kiwan, who does have a candle from Blended Collective, and it said Buckeye Blend is my favorite scent, which I think is that's still there on their summer line. A couple of comments here. We got one from Kiwan, who does have
Wrong button.
everybody's phones just started to go crazy because they're trying to get on to look at the comments.
No, I'm trying
and
to.
don't have their music turned down. So Kiwan also says that Tremors is trash, and I have a
Thank
weird
you,
fascination with those
Kiwan.
movies.
You do.
Okay, everybody. I feel like everybody's allowed to just love one terrible
One awful
movie series or awful movie, and I love Tremors. I grew up watching them as a kid, and I still love to watch them. I think that I just kind of get that same reaction that I had when I was a kid watching them. Victoria says that the dog was the best part of the mask.
True fact.
Jason Blackman agreed that the dog was the best part.
See?
Kiwan says Toy Story 4 is a great movie. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, see, that's where you're wrong, Kiwan. It's just garbage.
Brock says, hi, Zach. And Erica
Brock.
says, I don't think that he did cry.
Yeah, so I didn't cry.
Yes, you did.
I did not.
You did too.
I have admitted several times on this podcast, stupid times that I have cried. Why would I then defend myself against the Notebook? Like I just admitted I cried at the end of an animated Disney movie, and
yeah, that
no,
Right,
I
he
did not.
cries at the
appropriate
beginning of Up
cry.
every time. I mean, I get it. The first time you can cry at the beginning of Up. After that, it's time to pull on your big boy pants.
I think that's absolutely fair. By crying it up, and if you don't cry it up, I think you're just a trash human being. So that's where
The first time you watch Up.
right
After that,
after
you've seen
spoiler
what-
alert, Ellie dies.
Right. Like your third or fourth watch through,
And
you don't
then
need to cry.
Mr. Fredrickson is sitting there with his bow tie because Ellie has tied his ties every day of his life.
See, something tells me that if you can tie a bow tie, you can tie a real tie.
It's probably a clip-on bow tie.
Could be.
Could be, but it's so sad, Mr. Fredrickson. No.
All right, so I think we're moving on
think
from
we are-
number twos.
Yeah, I think we are joined now on the phone line by our good friend Reese. Maybe I have his voicemail, and yeah, I think that's what's going on.
That might be his voicemail.
All right, Kiwan, well, we're calling you.
Yep, Kiwan, you are next.
That's going to be a doozy of a voicemail.
Right,
For,
just people, Garrett trying to explain Up.
Right.
Hey. All right, so I think we are joined now on the phone by Kiwan, who needs to turn down his computer before we bring him on.
Like I told him an hour ago to turn down his laptop before we
It's
called
almost
him.
like we said, hey, Kiwan, turn down your... Oh, and now Reese is calling. This is great. It's going well. Hey, Kiwan, are you there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've got some. I got some opinions.
All right, so Kiwan's going to start the hot take parade here. I think, Kiwan, you're giving your worst movie sequel, right?
Yes, I do want to do my worst. I do also want to mention, since there was reference earlier, my all-time favorite movie, and also it would be my favorite if I were to do my favorite sequel. It's The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there.
I think you have expressed that on
Yeah.
multiple occasions, movie franchises and the Batman Villains
movie
episode.
yeah.
Yep.
So
So, I mean, you guys, I wouldn't going to do it again because you guys know it at this point. However, I won't lie to you. I do have a tie for worst.
okay.
All right, hit us with it.
All right. So, one, ironically, was referenced low-key incorrectly, but it was referenced already. Predator, Alien versus Predator 2, Requiem. I saw that in the movie theater, and it was hands down the worst movie I've ever seen in the movie theater. Like, I remember, like, my senior year of college, seeing it with my dad. I remember it was, like, at the $2 movie theater, so, like, super cheap. I'm paying $2 for it. And I remember, like, spending all this time being super invested in it, watching it, and then they, spoiler alert, nuke everybody. They kill everybody at the end.
Yep.
And I was just like...
The main character's running down the road and gets cut in half
I was like,
by
what the hell is this?
ninja star that the Predator threw. And then they just nuke it.
Yeah. Like I literally was so pissed. I remember my dad thinking it was funny. I was so pissed about it at the end. Like, I can't think of a time I've been that mad walking out of like a movie theater ever. Waste of time, waste of my $2. Like,
He was like, I could have got
two
McChickens
some Cracker
for that.
Jacks.
I could have got 2 McChickens.
I
for
could
I
have.
could have got 8 McMuffins.
Shoot, in that economy, not in today's economy. that economy, 100%.
So, what's your other
what's the
tie,
other?
Kiwan?
All right, the other one. So this is actually. So you know how Don just said you're allowed to love one terrible series,
Yep.
right? And Don's terrible series is Tremors. The general consensus that I see that people love that is honestly a terrible series past, like, let's say the first 3 movies is Fast and Furious, right? Like, most of those movies are not good movies.
Correct.
And so, ironically,
Granted, Garen's agreeing with you and hasn't seen any of them past
I've
the first
seen
one.
the first 2. And
He's like,
the first
well,
2
I saw-
first 2 suck. I imagine number 14 isn't better.
I saw Tokyo Drift and it was awful.
I don't even
Everyone
remember
thinks
what number they're on.
they're on 9
Like-
coming up.
Which is too many.
No, I mean
Well,
they're still good. They're
most
fun to
recent-
watch.
Like Fast and Furious. It's not even technically a Fast and Furious movie, I think. It's technically a spinoff. It's Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh,
Hobbs and Shaw was okay.
No, it's terrible. I remember.
It was fun to watch.
So my brother Jason is watching.
Yes.
And I remember I was at his house, and like everybody's asleep, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch a movie. And so I turned that on, and I probably watched like a solid 30 minutes before I was just like, I can't do this, man. I'm out. Like, it's not a good movie. Like, when I think of Fast and Furious, I want to think of fast cars. You know, I want to think of Vin Diesel constantly telling everybody we're a family. And then I want to think of like stupid stunts, you know, which like I said, the movie series is not great. But like Hobbs and Shaw just like took it to a whole nother level, and I'm just like,
So Hobbs and Shaw, when I watched
Elba.
it, was an airplane movie. So I guess I kind of see it through those tinted lenses, and that it's not an awful airplane movie. But then I finished it not on the airplane.
That's not a fair way to judge a movie, though, because like you're still filled with joy because, you know, I didn't die immediately after watching this movie,
Right.
which is all I'm trying to accomplish. Like, so that's not a fair like litmus test.
Kiwan, I'll give you Hobbs and Shaw. I enjoyed watching as long as you don't pay too much attention to the story, but the action in it's decent.
As long as you don't pay attention to the most important part, it's good.
And then The Rock turns into Vin Diesel at the end. He's like, family. And they go back to, and they do some haka dances against machine guns, and it ends up about how you'd think it would. So I think we've got to let you go and try and get back on the phone with Reese here, Kiwan.
All right, guys, it's been fun.
Thank you, Kiwan.
Thanks, Kiwan.
That's Kiwan giving us his worst list here on the Rankin Podcast, and we are live. And if anything that's happened over the last like 10 minutes proves we're live, it's this.
Right.
So now we are dialing up our friend Reese, who has been a frequent guest on the Rankin Podcast, and he is going to give us his favorite movie sequel. Reese, what is your best movie sequel? Hello, Reese.
Hello?
Hey. What is your best movie sequel?
I think you have the wrong number.
Oh, I would say we do. How did I? All right. I have no idea. I have no idea.
How did that happen?
I have no idea how that happened. Reese.
Did you give it to someone random?
Reese, did you just give your phone to somebody?
No, that was not me though. I was watching live.
I have no idea how that just happened. Oh my gosh! All right,
I heard you say it, and I was waiting for it to start ringing, and then somebody said hello, and I was like, "Oh my!"
I have no idea how that just happened.
Right, I was watching it, and it says
I
Reese
was gonna
Wolford,
say,
and he hit
everybody's
call.
looking at my phone and says Reese Wolford. I have no idea what just happened. All right, Reese, what is your best movie sequel?
We're gonna have to call that person back.
Before I say my best movie sequel, I have to say I do enjoy the fire behind Donnie G. I am a big fan of that.
Yeah, we tried aquarium first, and it didn't show up very well, so we went fireplace instead.
No, it's nice. Fireside chats with Donnie G. So
It's very hot in here, and the fire.
Movie sequel of all time. I was kind of torn, but I'm going to go with Avengers Infinity War.
Ooh, as opposed to Endgame, you're going Infinity War?
Yes, I think it is better than Endgame because the heroes lose. It's the first time in the MCU that you see them actually lose, and it's kind of heartbreaking. And somebody who loves Spider-Man as much as I do, to watch him kind of dust away the way he did.
Spoiler alert.
It hurts your heart.
For the most popular movie franchise in history. That literally Garrett's the only one who hasn't seen.
Superheroes aren't my thing. It's just
my other movie Garrett hasn't seen either, so it doesn't matter because he doesn't watch good movies.
That's true.
He just loves Nicolas Cage, apparently.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
The great action hero.
Hero Nicolas Cage. You mean the action star Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, he's a star of butt movies.
Oh. So we do have a comment here from Allison Salway that says that Garrett had dialed Reese from the Berenstain Bears universe instead of the Berenstein Bears universe.
I don't know what just happened. I clicked Reese Wolford, and I did not get Reese Wolford.
Right.
Well, it kind of sounded like me at first, too, and that's why I was kind of confused. I was like, what's going on here?
I want to call that number back. And just say, who are you and how did you get this number?
I don't know. I have no idea what.
Like, do you have multiple Reese's saved?
I don't think so.
Let's put that number out there. Let everybody call that number and let's figure out who he is.
We're not going to go ahead and do that. Reese, I appreciate you spending some time with us here this afternoon, even though you might have had a doppelganger or someone else.
I appreciate you calling me back. That was entertaining.
Yeah, no, anytime. All right. Thank you, Reese, for joining us here this afternoon. I don't know what happened. I dialed Reese Wolford, and I got not Reese Wolford. So
let's give Reese that number, and then let them figure out who the real Reese is.
I got one Reese Wolford.
Like if you go into your last,
I have two numbers in here.
So you've got his old cell phone number from like when we were in college, probably. That explains it. So you just called some random dude in Mansfield. He's like, some guy just called me asking me what my favorite movie sequel was.
So there's that. All right. Let's do our number ones. I'll do my number one first. My number one worst movie sequel is The Blair Witch Project 2.
I almost put that.
The Blair Witch Project itself is dreadful.
I've never seen it.
The marketing for it was phenomenal because people all over the country believed that this would the commercials and stuff were phenomenal. Where it's the scariest movie of all time. Oh, people are like,
and it's true found footage,
right? And the commercials were great, and it was that first found footage, the found footage genre. And it was it was so hyped up, and it was so bad. And then The Blair Witch Project 2, which is pretty much this is the biggest flop movie of all time, where everybody thought it was going to be great, and then it's dreadful. You don't make a second one after that. And they went ahead and did it. So it's horrible. And I encourage you to watch it. There's a game inside the movie. There's stickers with letters on them throughout the movie, and they don't tell you about it till the end, and then you're supposed to go back through the movie and watch it. And I've never even Googled what the hell it was because I hated the movie that much that I was like, I'm not even going to figure out what it tried to say. So there's that. And then my best sequel, of course, is The Dark Knight. Is the best movie sequel.
I'm just going to need you to hold up right there and agree with you. The Dark Knight is obviously the best movie sequel. I don't know. I mean, there are some other options. Like you could say, I'm not going to spoil Zach's, but I can think of like one other series that I think could fit in that if you're a bigger fan of that particular series than you are Batman. But I agree that The Dark Knight is the best movie sequel.
Like, I think it's the best
of the movies that I've watched. Again, I've never watched Godfather Part 2.
Right.
So I've got The Dark Knight as well.
Of the comic book superhero genres, I think that's the best movie of that genre.
Right,
like
that you've seen.
Okay, sure.
I mean, I'm agreeing with you over like Avengers Endgame and stuff like that because there's such a good arc in The Dark Knight Rises, and Heath Ledger is phenomenal.
Well, that's The Dark Knight.
That's what I'm saying. I said Dark Knight Rises, but I meant Dark Knight.
Okay.
Heath Ledger is phenomenal in it.
He is.
And so is
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman and Christian Bale. Do I stand in your lights?
You want me to crash your bleeping lights? So there we go. I've got Dark Knight at number 1. I assume that means you have Dark Knight.
I have Dark Knight at number 1.
All right. And then what's your worst?
So my number 1 worst is a movie series that I really like, and it's Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That's a bad one. That is a bad
We've talked
one.
about it before. We talked about it in the movie franchise.
Is that the one that came out like 2007?
It's the one that came out in 2008 with Shia LaBeouf in it.
And it's not good.
It's not good.
It's not that it's bad. It's that it's bad for an Indiana Jones movie.
No, it's bad for not an Indiana Jones movie. It's a terrible movie. Everybody wanted an Indiana Jones movie.
Except for Harrison Ford.
And what they got was just like Indiana Jones's hat with a half thought through abortion below it. Like that's
phenomenal.
It was so bad. So they brought back several characters, and so they brought back a love interest from the first Indiana Jones, and you're thinking, oh, like he had a kid with this person from the first Indiana Jones, and they're bringing it back, and it's all going to be.
Jones's hat. It's so funny.
But the execution of it was so poor, and then they brought aliens and superpowers into it, and then you're just the entire time. It's just
I haven't seen it.
I couldn't be less interested in it, but I'm going to continue watching. And then I haven't watched. I've watched it one time since I watched it in theaters, and it's so bad. Like if I see it on TV,
you ain't watching.
I don't even think about.
There are
on
movies that if you see on TV, you're like, well, I'm watching here, no matter where it's at in that movie. I'm gonna watch the rest of this. That's not one of them.
No, it's the opposite of that.
But the South Park episode making fun of that
Yes.
episode
That's
is
the
fantastic.
key one dropped in the comments here. The South Park episode about that movie is so funny.
It is.
Also had a rare producer Ashley sighting in the comments. She ordered us snow cones, and they came during the episode. So we got snow cones. Yay! So that's Don's best and worst movie sequels of all time. Zach, you are up. You've got through your red cream soda snow cones.
I've barely started on it. But okay, so number 1 worst movie sequel of all time, as according to me.
And I'm the world's foremost expert.
And I am the world's foremost expert on terrible films. Is Speed 2 Cruise Control.
Speed 2 is bad.
Speed 2 is bad. Have you ever seen Speed 2?
No.
You ever seen Speed?
Yes.
Speed is a fun movie.
So Speed is a great action movie other than Keanu Reeves' I am an FBI agent. Like, other than that.
And that dumb bitch swinging her purse when she's supposed to just, like, sit there and be still for 30 seconds so that they can loop the footage, and she's just sitting there twisting her purse. And that's how the bad guys find out. that they're looping the footage and hacked into it and try and kill everybody.
Well, there's the Simpsons quote of like, I was watching a movie about this bus that had to keep its speed above 55 miles an hour, and if it dropped its speed below that, then they would blow the bus up because it dropped its speed. I think it was called the bus that couldn't slow down. So stupid.
So Speed 2, there's no Keanu Reeves in it, which is already a red flag, or at least it should have been.
Right. Keanu Reeves isn't willing to do your movie.
Right. So Sandy Bullock goes on a nice vacation on a cruise, and exact same thing happens. The boat has to maintain its speed or it's going to blow up. The bad guy in this movie is Willem Dafoe, and this movie still sucks.
Willem Dafoe is such a good bad guy.
He is.
Great.
But I'm telling you, if Sandra Bullock and Willem Dafoe can't make this movie not suck, this movie's garbage.
So here's my question. How is keeping it's got to be so easy to keep a boat above a certain speed.
Right.
Like I get that there's waves and you have to not die on the waves.
Still.
But it's got to be easier than a bus at 60 driving through the middle of a city.
Right, through town, whereas the boat, it crashes into the harbor.
You have to keep this boat at 20 knots. Yeah, that's fine. I've got an ocean to go.
Right.
Before I hit anything. The bus, you just got to get on 75.
Right.
Just like, where's the closest exit to the nearest interstate? Bam, done. Movie's over. Boat is like, you got to keep it above 55. All right. Okay. All right. Well, I'll see you soon, Tahiti.
Right. Whatever.
I'm just going to go ahead and jump off this boat and let it go into the ocean and blow itself up.
Right.
Because there's three of us on this speedboat.
Well, no, it's like a cruise liner. So, everybody get into the lifeboats. We're going to evacuate the boat because some terrorist planted a bomb.
Yeah, but then curveball, Somalia pirates.
Yeah, but are they watching also to make sure that nobody jumps off? Like they were.
We'll never know because they did that plot hole.
I was going to say, I don't know because it's been a while since I've seen that movie.
It's not possible to watch this movie and find out.
Shit.
Impossible.
That movie was garbage. So, when it comes to best movie sequels of all time,
so Keyone says they have a Speed 2.
Right.
Not real up to date on these sequels.
But then his brother was like, I was just gonna say Speed 2. So
right.
We gotta watch that together.
So right. So my number one is definitively the best movie sequel of all time, and that's Empire Strikes Back.
See, when I was talking about movie franchises, it could be one or two. I was thinking you were going to go Lord of the Rings.
See, I like the Lord of the Rings, I really do, but I never just got into it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So yeah, Empire Strikes Back is, like I said, it is. When people talk about best movie sequels, Empire Strikes Back is always one of the first movies they name. It builds so much of what people love about Star Wars. You learn more about Darth Vader, you learn more about Luke Skywalker, you learn who Darth Vader is to Luke Skywalker, you learn who Yoda is, you learn more about the Jedi, you learn so much about what's going on in the Star Wars world. And it does not exist without Empire.
So earlier, I said it wrong. You watch New Hope, then Empire, then you go back to...
I knew what you meant.
Then you go back to Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, then come forward and hit Return of the Jedi.
Revenge of the Jedi.
So originally, it was going to be called Revenge of the Jedi, and then a couple weeks before the movie released...
I know this. This is the third time we talked about it on this podcast.
George Lucas was like, wait, Jedis don't take revenge?
They're the good guys. And then, one more thing. The bad guys win in Empire Strikes Back. That's why it's called The Empire Strikes Back.
Do they?
Yeah. Han Solo is trapped in carbonate.
True.
Luke Skywalker gets his hand cut off.
True. They struck him down, and he became more powerful than he could ever imagine.
Yeah, something like that. You find out that your best friend's a friggin' traitor. That your best friend sold you out to Darth Vader. This is when they introduced the Emperor.
Then he tried to take your girl.
Right. This is where they introduced the Emperor, who is now even more powerful than before because, again, you got a handless Luke Skywalker who has not finished his Jedi training. He has to go back to frickin' Dagobah to learn from Master Yoda to become a Jedi. So he
Right.
is half cocked. He cannot fight with a lightsaber that great, and like it is freaking bleak.
He's half-handed.
He is half-handed. It is bleak for the Resistance to topple the Empire at the end of Empire Strikes Back.
So I agree that The Empire Strikes Back is a really good sequel, but
The best.
it's debatable, obviously. But we do have a quick question here. Richie is asking our thoughts on Home Alone 2. Lost in New York.
Lost in
I was
New
gonna say,
York.
you know what? I might like Home Alone 2 better than Home Alone.
I was just going to say Home Alone 2 is better than the first one.
I think it's better than the first one.
Yes, because I enjoyed the dude who owns the toy store.
Yeah. Plus
the
you have the...
Turtle Doves.
I was going to say the Turtle Doves lady.
Who is just like purposely terrifying. It seems like the turtle dove lady and the old guy with the shovel are just like purposely terrifying Kevin at the beginning of the movie.
The old dude with the shovel.
The old dude is trying to terrify him. The lady with the birds is just like with her arms out with pigeons all over her and like staring at him like she's going to eat him. No wonder he's going to scream in her face and run away.
Right. Well, because like in the first one, he's afraid of the furnace.
Right.
Like, okay, he's afraid of an inanimate object in the basement. What are you going to do when you have some creepy homeless guy?
So
Are we going to sit here and pretend like we're not each afraid of some inanimate object?
I'm afraid to be in the basement with the lights off. I don't like it. I'm also afraid of being the first one to jump in the pond.
Are you sitting here, Zach? Are you trying to pretend like you're not afraid of an inanimate object?
Nothing is coming to mind.
What are you afraid of?
Garbage disposal.
That was quick.
Oh, it terrifies me. I'm absolutely, like, will not touch it. Even, like, you could... Absolutely terrified of it.
See, if I would have asked Ashley what you were afraid of, she would have said the dishwasher.
Well, okay, I'm not afraid of it. I'm just too stupid to run it or whatever.
Could have fooled me. You haven't used it in 4 years.
Absolutely terrified of garbage disposal. Irons, too. Irons. I hate irons. Don't know if they're hot. No idea.
So I think Home Alone 2 has a lot more funnier parts, too. Like when he calls the front desk and...
Credit card?
Credit card? You got it.
Plus the butler from Clues in that movie.
Oh, don't. No. Stop it.
The butler from Clue is in that movie.
Stop.
Donald Trump is in that movie.
Trump is
What a nice guy, showing him where the
I
the
loved
lobby
the
is.
memes in 2016 of like, Hillary Clinton says she's here to help Americans. I must have missed her cameo where she helped Kevin find the lobby in Home Alone 2.
Right. What's the other thing that he does? So he just like goes through an address book that his parents have with someone living in New York, goes to their house, and their house is under renovations and just turns it into a death trap.
Right, but and it's got that gigantic tube on the outside. I love it. As I finish my cherry limeade snow
Right.
cone.
I mean, I would
Solid film.
also argue that I like Home Alone 2 better than the first Home Alone.
I think so too. I'm glad we're on the same page here. So I think that'll do it for this edition of the Rankin Podcast live here on
Are we staying
Facebook.
live for the reaction?
Probably something I hadn't,
Yeah, we'll stay here.
thought about until right now. So you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Rankin Podcast. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen. We certainly do appreciate it. It really does help. So you can find Zach on Twitter at Zach Seawright with an H. The H is for hate. You can find Don on Twitter at Donnie_G. And I'm on Twitter at Garrett Seawright. Again, leave us a 5-star review, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends however you can help us. Hopefully you like this live version of the Rankin Podcast. And if you missed it, we will post it wherever we post our podcast. Coming up here probably tomorrow. Want to thank you for joining us, and we'll do the reaction show live too here on the Rankin Podcast. We'll catch you next time.